Entering the season, Cade Cunningham was a divisive player, one of the more hyped prospects in recent memory as a big creator compared to prime James Harden and Luka Doncic, someone who was the consensus top prospect in a really good class with a bunch of future stars. However, despite good numbers individually, his flaws have been highlighted over the years due to a lack of team success, especially compared to some of his draft peers that were drafted after him. However, I think the question of if Cade is good or not is being answered this season. He's made real improvements to his game, and showing that the lack of team success spoke more to the coaching and players around him than him as an individual, as even having competent surrounding pieces has led to the Pistons seeing the most success they've had since the bubble, and it's not even close. In this video, I want to talk about Cade and why he's proving to be something close to what the hype was entering the NBA. But before we go any further, if you're new and like basketball, I'd really appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever I release a video. If you enjoy basketball, I really think you're going to enjoy my content, and doing all of those things are the best way to let YouTube, but more importantly myself, know that you enjoy the content so I can make more of it in the future. Anyways, let's talk about Cade Cunningham. One of the big areas of improvement with Cade has been his self-creation. He's always been a high-usage creator, mainly because who else on the Pistons was going to be one? However, while the Pistons have added more reliable pieces around him this season, Cade still carries an absurdly high usage rate. In fact, at 31.7%, it's a career high. But the fact his true shooting percentage, PER, win shares, and value over replacement player also all at career best do show that the usage is leading to positive results. Now, there are two reasons for this type of improvement. While guys like Tobias Harris and Malik Beasley aren't elite players, they are significantly better than Isaiah Livers and Killian Hayes, who was playing with last season, and that is something that needs to be factored in. There are better players around him. Also, having a head coach that actually cares and formulates a game plan to help try and win is a big help as well. But it's not just that. Cade himself has been getting better, and his handle improving is a big reason for that. While it's still not an elite handle, I'm not saying he's Kyrie Irving now. He has shown significant improvement compared to prior seasons. It's a bit tighter, it's more controlled, and combined with his strength, it allows him to play the way he wants to, which is with control and pace. Cade doesn't get sped up the way he used to. He's able to control the pace and flow from much better spots on the court now compared to in seasons past where the team wasn't as good around him and his handle wasn't as good. He's always had this type of superpower in his game, but now he's able to master it. Like a protagonist in any action or fantasy-based series involving superpowers, having that power gives someone potential, but mastering it is what makes them a threat. And with Cade, this has unlocked his game in a way that has led to a ton of positive results. It's easy to say that the team situation around him has gotten better, and that's why this is happening. It is part of the equation, but it's also just as much about his individual improvement in terms of his handle and how it opens up his game. Another area Cade has shown improvement is his three-point shooting. He's always been a good volume three-point shooter at around 5 to 6 attempts per game, and in every season he's been healthy, he has shown improvement, going from 31.4% on 5.7 attempts per game in 2022 as a rookie to 35.5% on 5.4 attempts per game in 2024. And this season, he's at 38.2% on 6.5 attempts per game. I excluded 2023 because he was hurt that season and he barely played. So, looking at 3 seasons, he's been healthy. He has some legit growth in his three-point shooting while maintaining, if not improving, his volume. What makes it so encouraging, though, on tape is the fact that he's a versatile shooter. He can shoot on and off the ball, hovering around a 33 to 67 unassisted to assisted ratio. He can pull up, he can create, he can shoot off the ball, and his shot diet combined with his shooting trends gives me confidence he is growing into a good shooter, and this isn't just a fluke. On top of that, the fact that he's not taking a lot of corner threes is a good indicator as well. His efficiency, while adding the fact he doesn't take a ton of the easiest distance 3-point looks from three, shows the level of shooter he is. And I don't think it's out of the cards that a guy who was nearly at 36% on 5 attempts per game last season is at 38% on nearly 7 attempts per game this season, especially given how young he is. Having to worry about his 3-point shooting opens up his game and allows him to get easier looks within the arc. It opens up his playmaking and adds to a key factor in what makes him a pretty complete player. Cade is also an elite playmaker. This was, in my opinion, the biggest selling point when it came to why he was a number one lock in that draft. His vision is elite, his creativity is really good, his feel for the game is off the charts, he has the scoring gravity to fully maximize his playmaking, and he has the intelligence to fully capitalize on it as well. Like we talked about earlier, the handle improving really has expanded his game, and playmaking is a part of that expansion. He's always been good at making decisions when picking up his dribble, but now he doesn't have to pick up his dribble as much, keeping plays alive, and we are seeing the full extent of what Cade can be as a playmaker with better floor spacers on top of the existing lob threats. He may not have the dominance of Nikola Jokic. He may not be as crafty as a Trae Young or LaMelo Ball with his handle. He may not be as efficient with his decision making as a Tyrese Halliburton. However, despite all of that, on tape and in the numbers, he's an elite playmaker. He makes those around him better. He's shown the scoring and passing levels that are required to be an elite playmaker. He's not a perfect playmaker. I'm not saying he's Magic Johnson 2.0 or that he's 6'7" Chris Paul in his prime, but he's also always had special feel and vision as a playmaker dating back to high school. It's an area that has translated across every level, and now we're seeing what the best version of that might look like given the situation and given his improvements. Now, for all the positives with Cade, he still has flaws that need to be addressed. One of those flaws is his rim pressure. He's shooting just 52.3% at the rim on 6 attempts per game with 4.5 free throw attempts per game. I would like to see the efficiency go up here, especially for a 6'7", 220-pound player. But I think it's more encouraging when you compare it to other players around the league. He's not afraid to attack the rim, which is a positive sign even if the results are mixed. In fact, he ranks top 25 in the league in rim attempts, and among players that are listed from point guard to small forward, he ranks 7th in the NBA in rim attempts. That alone presents a threat even with his flaws. It's not like defenses are going to allow him easy looks at the rim just because he's not in the 80th plus percentile efficiency wise. If he's attacking the rim a lot, they're going to defend him at the rim a lot, even if he is flawed in this area. And this goes back to the Halliburton video I made a few months ago, I want to say, where I talked about how attacking the rim is important for potential main options. I'd rather have a player who isn't afraid to be aggressive around the rim, even if they're flawed, than have somebody that may be super efficient at the rim, but they're much more adverse to attacking the rim. His touch around the rim needs to get better. That's been a real thing with him really since he's entered the NBA. I think his processing with contact on drives can get better. However, even if he's flawed, he's wired to attack the rim, and I don't see why he can't get better. His free throw numbers have gotten better every season, and I think his processing flaws are fixable with more reps. He's only 23, he's going to get better, He's not done growing as a player, obviously. And when you compare him to other players, he's very encouraging with his volume. He's taking more rim attempts and free throw attempts than guys like Scotty Barnes, Anthony Edwards, Victor Wembanyama, and Zach LaVine, and he's taking more free throw attempts than LeBron James. Is he necessarily better at this than those guys? No, he isn't. But I say this because I'm willing to bet on a guy with flaws if the volume is there. Then I would be betting on a guy who doesn't have the volume at all. Time will tell if he gets better in this area, but there are very encouraging signs in my opinion. Combined with everything else in this game, this does again paint that picture of an overall special player. The other area that stands out among fans is the turnovers. He's currently averaging 4.4 turnovers per game, which ranks second in the NBA, putting him in the first percentile. However, I don't think this is as much of a problem as others do, mainly because I believe this is a byproduct of a high usage player, and that's something that's pretty common. Of the 14 players that average at least 7 assists per game, only 3 of them are in the 10th percentile or higher in terms of their turnovers. Tyrese Halliburton, Chris Paul, and Jalen Brunson. Of those players, Brunson is the only one with a usage rate close to 30%. Does Cade have problems in this area? He does have some flaws. It's not just the fact that he has high usage and it excuses everything. He does have moments where the pass can be a bit inaccurate. Sometimes he throws what he anticipates too early. But overall, I don't think this is as much of a problem as it has been in years prior. I think this speaks more to his usage, and a 2.13 assist to turnover ratio with over 9 assists per game isn't the end of the world. Would I like to see him improve in these areas? I would like to see him improve because he's young and has a chance to, but I think that this is more of something you live with given the usage and assist rate like we've seen with guys like James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Luka Doncic, and Trae Young. And I don't think this takes away from how great of a playmaker he is either. Cade Cunningham is proving a lot of people wrong this season, mainly people who thought that it was his fault that the Pistons were awful when he wasn't the historically bad player on that team in terms of his production and efficiency. But, that's another story for another time. I think just looking at the wiring he has as a player, the improvements he's made individually, how the team around him being better has helped maximize his game, it all points to him being a future star. If he's not a star already, actually, scratch that, he is a star right now. Now, the question is, will he live up to what the hype was? I don't think it's as simple as yes or no when it comes to an answer with that question. I don't think he's ever going to be Luka or Harden like he was hyped up to be. I think there's certain levels in certain aspects of his game that I don't see him reaching to be that. But do I think he can be a flawed number one option on a contender? I do think he can be. Someone that is capable of being that guy, but you have to really focus on the team building rather than having an underwhelming roster that a player can take a deep playoff run on. That's not Cade. I think Cade is very similar to Anthony Edwards in terms of how I view the ceiling. In fact, this might be a hot take, I would take Cade over Ant in terms of my philosophy around team building. Ant is the better player, in my opinion, just based off what they've proven so far in their careers, and has had a lot more success. But in terms of this season, I would say Cade has been better than Ant. And the reason I would take Cade over Ant in terms of who I would build a team around is because I think it's easier for a high-level playmaker that his improvement area is one he's not afraid of to work out in terms of roster construction than it is for a guy that has playmaking flaws. That's not to say Anthony Edwards hasn't gotten better as a playmaker, but when I look at it, I do think that he's never going to reach what Cade naturally is as a playmaker, and I just think it's easier for a guy who has that playmaking he can fall back on if the shot isn't falling than it is for a guy who struggles with the advanced stuff in terms of his playmaking. You can feel free to disagree or agree. Everyone has their own opinion. I understand both sides of the argument, but that's just where I stand. Regardless of that though, Cade is starting to live up to the franchise player potential that made him coveted as a prospect. Is it quite like how myself and many others thought it would be, where he is this supernova hub playmaker? Probably not. But I think in the right situation, with the right roster construction, the right coaching, he can be your number one and you have a chance to win the title. All the signs are there. He is a special talent, somebody that I've been a big fan of for years now, and I can't wait to see what the future holds in store for him. But that's the end of this video. If you made to this point, thank you so much. Again, haven't already, like, subscribe, hit notification bell, notify whenever I release a video. I make videos about basketball, and I think if you enjoy basketball, you're going to enjoy my content, and liking and subscribing are the two best ways to let YouTube, but more importantly myself, know that you enjoy the content so I can make more of it in the future. Let me know what you think about Cade Cunningham. How good has he been this season? Do you think he should make the All-Star team? Do you think he should make an All-NBA team? Are you surprised by the Pistons' success? Are you not surprised by it? Do you think that Cade is proving people wrong, or do you think he's still the same player? I'd like to hear all of your thoughts down below in the comment section. But with that being said, have a nice day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.